Welcome back to Talk to Me or Whatever podcast. I'm here with Rick. My co-host is not with me at the moment, but I'm here to interview the one and only Eastside Benny. He's a music producer. He does rap recording, artist. He makes rap music as well. He does host events for Battle League that he hosts out in New Mexico, and he just overall just a one-stop shop. Honestly, to be honest with you. So Benny, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you taking your time to do this interview and sit down with me. Been looking forward to it. Just working on this new project that we have that we got released recently, doing promo for that. So just glad to be here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds sick, man. And before we get to all that, because we definitely want to go ahead and get to all that and promote all your new projects going on, I also want to get into the behind the scenes of kind of getting to what got you to where you're at. Because before Eastside Benny, you were not Eastside Benny, you know? So
Yeah.
for the first person hearing you for the first time, how would you describe yourself as an artist? Because I know you do the production side, the mixing and mastering, the songwriting, the rapping, the recording artist, and so much and so forth. How would you describe yourself to someone who's never heard you before?
I'm just a creative little bastard. That's the best way for me to put it. I like making stuff. I like being artsy. I like making music. I like making short films. I like making comics with my friends. Like ever since I was very young, even before I like was in elementary school, I would put together little story times, or I'd get my thoughtless guitar and just sit there and strum on it and try to make up songs on the spot. Like just I've always wanted to be creative, and since I was younger, whenever anybody asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, it was always something creative. It was never like, hey, oh, I want to be a doctor or I want to be a firefighter. And it wasn't just a flat out like I want to be a musician either. I remember the earliest job I wanted to have was I wanted to design roller coasters. I didn't want to be an engineer. I didn't want to be an architect. I literally just wanted to be like, hey, it'd be cool if a roller coaster had a dragon and then it went like this. And like I just wanted to have the ideas. I just wanted to be creative.
That's sick. That's sick. From videography, and I'm guessing when you say art, like you like draw pictures or like is it metal art? Like what else do you
Yes.
dive into?
So by education, I guess is the best way to say it, I was a fine artist. I went to a graphic school for a little bit where I learned how to do graphic design, digital design, traditional 2D animation, some 3D modeling. So more along the lines of fine artistry a little bit. Lots of drawing. My preferred medium has since I was a child been just ink, pen, and pencil. But I have stuff that I've done in other traditional mediums, acrylic paints or watercolor painting or sculpting. Even my project that I recently released, everything was done by me in house. The production was done by me, recording, mixing, mastering. The album artwork was drawn by me, hand drawn. So like when you see that project, actually I got a copy of it right here. So like when you see these projects and stuff like that, this is all done in house. This is all done by me. I had full control over every aspect of it, the whole design. Just to be able to show like yeah, I'm multifaceted.
That is dope to say the least, man. That's so
thank,
excited that you can
thank you,
be
man.
creative and let all out expressions of you come out. That's amazing. But getting back to the music stuff in your project, when did music become more than something you just listened to? What got you into like wanting to be a participant?
I love that question. So there's I guess there's like two answers to it. I was maybe 7 or 8 when I started becoming conscious, I guess, of music outside of like the radio and music outside of what just my parents would listen to, and being able to start finding music on my own. So when I started being able to find music on my own, older kids in my neighborhood, older cousins that I had, obviously listened to um, a lot more rap, a lot more punk music, a lot more metal, not so radio friendly, if you will. And then that started pushing me more towards wanting to learn more about it. At the same time, I had an older cousin, shout out my cousin Ananias. He started recording himself out in Phoenix, super, super light indie style. He had a boombox, would write his lyrics, and then go to his garage and record himself rapping over the boombox beat and on like one of the little tape memo decks. And I remember going up there to visit him one time, and he showed me, he's like, yo, just come to the room real quick, but you can't tell nobody. And he starts playing this mixtape that he has, and it's just him rapping over these beats that he did in his garage. And I was like, the two pieces lined up to me. I was like, oh, I'm listening to other people make music, and now my cousin's doing it, and he's showing me that it could be done at the most basic level, and it's still music. So that's really what kicked it off for me. I remember going home that weekend and being like, yeah, I want to try to do something. And I got my hands on a little boombox, got my hands on a little MP3 recorder, started doing it. The first song that I ever tried writing or recording was a cover version of "I Get Around" by Tupac. Um, And I mean, I was like in sixth grade when I did this or something by the time like I really did that. So yeah, so that's what it was. My older cousin inspired me, and then being able to find music on my own, the two pieces just married together beautifully.
Hell yeah, that's what basically what pulled you in specifically into the music, but you already were a fan of the music, so that's amazing to hear. But with
Absolutely.
that said, what was the moment that you realized you were actually good at making music?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't even still think I feel like I'm very good at making music to be real with you. Like,
Yo,
it's
your
such a
honesty is
subjective thing.
amazing, man. I appreciate that.
It's such a subjective thing, right? Like,
Exactly.
I like the music I make, but I don't have any like misconceptions that it might not be the most cosmopolitan. It might not be the most like radio designed music, if you will. And I've always been of the belief that the radio is not the best example of what a genre has to offer. It's just the most easily digestible of what that genre has to offer. So I like knowing all those bits and pieces. I kind of recognize that it's so subjective, but when I recognize that I had I guess, a passion and an ability to be able to create music that turned into a talent, was in my late teenage years. I was part of a local label out here called Desert Hustle Entertainment, along with my cousin and I, who I mentioned earlier. It was a couple of artists that were just doing stuff. I remember being a junior in high school, and we would be open up for Bone Thugs and Andre Nicotina and um, Too Short, The Game, E40, Warren G, like just a ton of people just opening up for them at the Rialto. And I guess that's when it clicked to me, like, oh, I could, like, if I really tried, I could do this. And I was a little, I don't want to say overzealous, but I really thought I was going to get signed out of high school. Feel me? Like I thought that's what was going to happen to me. So I think that's where that idea of grandeur first planted its like roots in my head, that I could do something with it. Because I was like, yeah, somebody's going to pick up this little $1 mixtape that I made out here in Tucson, and they're going to give it to somebody, and that person's going to be Dr. Dre's childhood friend, and I'm out of here. And 15 years later, I'm still just kind of grinding at it. But I reassessed and readjusted what I consider success. So I'm much more happy with where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And then, creativity, it basically develops over time, skill sets
Yeah.
develop over time. That's understandable. But let's get back to, the first group with Anais. Do you remember your first performance? Like if you could take us back there, I'm sure the butterflies, your first time,
Yeah.
how was that experience?
It was interesting. So technically, they happened in kind of a weird order. The first show that I got booked for was part of the group with my cousin, and we were supposed to open up for Bone Thugs at the Rialto as a way of having a live. Uh, I should take a step back. So I was used to performing in front of people already a little bit, because I would battle rap in my neighborhood and we would do ciphers and stuff,
Mm.
and I was already accustomed to like doing studio work and presenting myself in front of people, and being comfortable with rapping like to an audience, however large, right? The first show that I did was technically a school talent show that was a week before I opened up for Bone Thugs, just as a way of me practicing material. And also, I was kind of like, hey, using it as a promo, I did the talent show. I was like, hey, you guys see me here tonight, but in 1 week, I'm actually going to be opening up for a platinum selling group. So if you guys want to, come support, and it did well. I had a few amount of people come out. But my first real performance was that night, opening up for Bone Thugs at the Rialto, and it's one of my favorite stories. The shortened version of it is we did really well. Me and my cousin killed it so well that he gave his hat to Crazy Bone. Crazy ends up rocking it for the rest of the show. And then afterwards, a bunch of people are stopping us on the way out, and they're like, let me get your shirt, let me get your pants, let me get you, like, they're asking us for all of our clothes. And we ended up like in tank tops and our basketball shorts at Denny's, eating right afterwards, just because people were asking. And right before I went on stage, I remember that they had this little side room that it's designed just for nerves. And like, you asked if I got nervous. I didn't think I was going to be nervous until they said that we were like 5 minutes out to getting up on stage. And then I walk into this little side room that has like a full length mirror and a bucket full of sawdust and sand. And I'm just like trying to breathe and calm my nerves down. And I bent over and threw up in the bucket. And then I stood back up, and I'm like looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, oh, that's what this room is for. Like, they like, oh, okay, cool. And then went out on stage and killed it. And that was my first real performance.
That is crazy to experience that and just throw up, man. Thanks for sharing that because because that's no one, like I always say, people can see the performances, they see the music, they see the cover art, but they don't see the backstory. They don't see
Yeah,
like the grind to come up there. And that's what I appreciate you telling these stories, because it gets a connection to you, not just your art and your music, you know. So that's really, really awesome to hear.
thank
But
you.
with that said, what was the Tucson music scene or hip hop scene like when you first entered it? Like now you did the show, now you're in the mix, people know your name, you're basically almost naked at Denny's. What was after that?
Oh man. Um, it was beautiful. That was. I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh well, the when my class came out, it was the best, but it really did. I'm sure part of it is half nostalgia, and a part of it is this pre um overexposure era, right? Everybody does social media now. Everybody has several niches that they tap into, that they expose themselves to. But when I started doing music out here, it was like not everybody was documenting everything every single step of the way. Like phones weren't as advanced yet, and I know that that dates me, but this was 2011 to 2014. It felt like we had hip hop shows going on every single weekend. That there was somewhere to be. Every week there was somewhere to pull up to and somebody else to support. Whether it was the Tucson Hip Hop Unity Barbecue that El Aron used to host out here. This was like leading up to the Tucson Hip Hop Festival led by Pike. We used to have Club Fourth down here in South Tucson. We used to host events, and that's to say nothing of the amount of artists that we had out here at the time. E Fresh was really popular. We had Polo, myself, Anais, rest in peace, Clipso. Eclipso was doing his thing out here. Too Strong was still doing their thing. Yeah, Laron. Man, I'm sure there's so many people I'm fucking missing. Mono Gangsta, fucking oh man, I'm sure I'm blanking on so many different people that were like really doing shit and hosting events and everything, and it felt like oh dude, Marley and Cash and Tommy Will, Johnny Red, and like the whole backpack group of guys that were out here doing stuff. It felt like not only was there an abundance of hip hop going on, but there was different pocket niches within it where if you wanted to hit like the gangster music, you go hit up Club Fourth where Eclipso's headlining that weekend. And if you wanted your more backpack flavor boom bappers, you could go check out, Marley's gonna open up for Tech Nine and Cash is gonna be there, or Murs is gonna come into town. And it was it just felt like JV was in town still. Like all these names meant tremendous amounts to the scene out here. And it felt like um I guess as close to the golden age of Tucson hip hop as we can get, right? I don't want to say a renaissance age, and I don't want to say the mainstream age. If anything, we're as close to the mainstream age for Tucson now that we've ever been. But when I first came out, it just felt passionate. I guess if I had to use one word, passionate was the way to do it. I don't remember feeling like there was as many gimmicky rappers or people that were like, I just want to do this for the clout, or I just want to do this as a quick come up. Like it felt like the people that were involved and invested in it really also loved it.
And of course, major shout out to those who laid the foundation for what we have
Oh
now.
yeah. Mhm.
That's huge, and that's but we're able to make stuff like this. Now we're on social media and making this all build and
Yes.
stuff like that. But with that said, is that when you started the battle culture? Were you just a part of that? Um, and what do you think is misunderstood mostly from the battle rap culture in Tucson?
So battling for me actually started before music. So I grew up on 29th and Craycroft. Older homies, freestyle in the corner would do battling on the corner. So that's how my introduction to rapping in general. Because I remember writing some lines and showing a couple of homies, and they're like, "Yeah, this is cool, but if you want to prove yourself, you gotta, you know, go battle somebody." And so I started battling in my neighborhood, and then I enjoyed doing it so much I took it to school with me. So in my 8th grade year in middle school, I started doing these weekly battles that I would host on at like lunch, where I just get the homies and we'd all get together, and it was like a hybrid because at the time, Yo Mama was really popular, the show by Wilmer Valderrama. So he was doing that, and so kind of a hybrid of just clowning on people, ragging on people, and battling, and just like a cool little marriage of it. And again, at the time, I didn't think to document any of it. None of us were filming it. None of us were, recording this. It was just kind of this thing that we were like, yeah, for props, for the sake of the game. Like I challenge you, I'm better than you. And then I continued doing that into high school. And the only real records I have of that now is I have Facebook posts where people will say like, "Oh, Wednesday Benny's gonna battle so and so, and then there's comments on there like, "Oh man, he won," or like, right. Um, I stepped away from battling around the time that I started doing musicking. I stepped away from battling around the time I started making music more,
Right, right,
only
right, right.
because I had older homies that were like, you know, you're talented at what you do, putting words together, but if you want to make money, money is in music, so you have to go make. And this was before the blow up of like Smack TV and URL and KOTD. Like they were doing their thing, but it wasn't a money game yet. They were still barbershop rapping and you know corner rapping, and it existed, but not on a commercial level yet. So I started going into music, did a long time of doing music, learning how to do production, mixing, recording, you know, refining my songwriting. And then right around the time that COVID happened, the scene took a nosedive out here. You know, we weren't able to bring because we were doing well. We were doing real well. I had a group that I was running called the Have Nots. We released an album. We had weekly shows where we were kind of on rotation, where one week we do a show in Tucson, the following week in Douglas, the following week in Benson, and then Phoenix, and then back in Tucson. And we're, you know, we're getting paid to go out to these little venues, and we're pulling between 100, 200 people, depending on the venue, like really generating a healthy buzz. COVID happens, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we can't have more than 30 people in the venue now. And it just became not financially feasible anymore. The amount that it costs us to get out there or book the space, it's like, well, we're not making anything back now. So I was like, fuck, well, I want to do something where in a smaller environment, I can still feel creative. I can still show off my writing. Um, Battling here in Tucson, they started doing like smaller room battles. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna try out. I want to do something. Nobody booked me for like 6 months. And then finally, shout out Chris Wynn out in Phoenix. He took a shot on me last minute. Was like, if you can be here in 2 weeks, we'll have an opponent for you. I went up there and killed it. You know, won the battle, did real well, had a really solid performance, and they kind of just snowballed from there. I kept battling more frequently. Then I started getting booked back in Tucson. Um, Battled my way up in the league that was down here, became the number one of the league that was down here. Got invited to go battle out in New York. Went and battled out in New York as part of like a launch series that they had out there for another league called I Battle. That got me a little bit of attention from a New Mexico league. They booked me for something, and then that was UBR, and that was kind of like the real springboard. Once I battled on UBR, me and Phrase, who if you guys aren't familiar with Phrase, go check him out. He's another artist from out there. He had a viral clip years back, like in the early stages of battling, where he's battling a white guy. And he tells him, "Fuck all you John Smiths," and it just went super viral and shit like that. And the indigenous peoples and the natives and everybody really fuck with him. And you know, he's a legend. So I got to battle him. Fucking battle just 10,000 views. Like it does fantastic for battle rap standards and shit. Um, and it just really took off from there. Ended up getting more involved with UBR, working with them more closely. They ended up asking me to join staff. I became a staff member. And then at some point, they're like, "Hey, you know, would you like to lead this?" I was like, I mean, I'll try, dog. We'll see what I can do. And in the time that I have, you know, we turned it into a nonprofit. We started getting grants written for us to be able to promote and do better events. Expanded it from Mexico, brought it here to Arizona, where I live. Um, Became like the premier league for the Southwest. We recently just had a tournament for $1,000. Was the winner, the grand prize winner, and just doing our best to keep the culture going.
That is huge, man. I mean, this is stuff that, like you said, you didn't document, and now that we're here, like people don't even know you did that. Even people that you actually work with would probably watch the show, watch the interview, and they'd be like, "You did that," and like, people that you talk to, and they'll have their mind blown. That's crazy. But
Yeah,
from going to like battle rapping, and then they tell you, "Hey, if you want to make money, you got to make music."
yeah.
What is the difference between what's the mindset difference between battling and of course making music? Because one, you're writing songs for a longer project, but other one, you're making it up on the spot. What's the difference?
So I think one, there's a big misconception when people hear about battle rapping now that they think that it's still kind of freestyling on the spot. The sport has evolved into a more, I don't want to say scripted way, but it has evolved into a more regulated format now. So now, typically, the battle procedure is if you were to get booked for a battle, they'd say, "Hey, you know, we're going to book you. Your opponent is so and so. You have 2 months to prepare." So now you have time to go look at their battles and kind of do some research and, oh, he said this, or he's this kind of rapper, or even if it's just looking at him like, oh, he's a white boy, so I'm gonna make white boy and rap jokes, whatever. And you have time to prepare material and rehearse it, and it is a little bit more like a presentation now. The way I like to describe it is that when you're watching battles on YouTube now, the closest that is to in other art format is that is akin to watching a taping of like a Broadway performance. Like there is a format that goes along with this. There's a expected outcome to go along with this, and that both battlers are expected to get through the material clean and provide X amount of rounds of material, whether it be one or three or what have you. Um, but the liveness of it means that anything could happen, right? Somebody could blank on their material. Somebody could not be as prepared as they thought they were. Somebody could have a phenomenal performance that just derails the other person's, you know, momentum.
Momentum.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different aspects to the live element of it. I think the main differential, um, there's two main differences. One is the control of timing and negative space. In battle rapping, there is not a regulated tempo structure that you're trying to adhere your lyrics to. So you can break down and stretch out certain phrases or speed phrases up or provide long gaps between certain words. And that is why I say it's like a little bit more of a Broadway stage, because you can sell material, you can make a bar better by how you deliver it, by adding or taking away space, cluttering words together, or making the setup a really long setup and then the punchline is just a couple of words. That's used for a lot of comedic effects and stuff. There's very good battle rappers that take comedic angles that use the rule of threes in their repetition. So that's where spacing and timing is a little bit different. Where on wax, you're regulated to a tempo structure. Typically, it's like a 4/4 structure, right? So whatever you're saying fits within that parameter, whether it be a singular bar or two-bar structure or a four-bar structure or whatever your rhyme sequence is. You're looking for those triggers within that time sequence. The other big difference, I think, is the presentation after something. So when you're making music, I make my album, right? My song is out. People listen to the song. It's time for me to do a live show. I go and do my show. I can perform that album for years, right? If it's big enough, you could go on tour and promote that same body of work years, day in, day out. You perform the same exact set list at every place that you go. It's very comfortable. With battling, you are essentially coming up with brand new material every single time that you only have that one opportunity to present. And if you fuck up your material that time, oh well. It's not like you get to look at your DJ and be like, nah, they weren't listening to me, run it back, and then you get to try it again like that, right? If you get that one, that's what Eminem was talking about. That's that one shot, one opportunity. That's the battle mentality. Is you only have that 3 minutes or or 5 minutes or however long it takes for you to get through all the material to do it right. Because if you and I guess it's just part of the battle culture stemming from the freestyle aspect of it, right? If I were to write a battle round and then recite it, even if I did well and I took the same exact material and I tried to say it against somebody else, even though I wrote it, even though that's my material, even though that's my shit, I came up with it, it's clever, I'm the originator of it, what they're gonna say is, oh, he's recycling. He's using the same material again. He's recycling. So it's like, well, so every single time, it's basically like having three brand new songs every single battle.
And with that said, I mean, it's the difference between like improv art and like performance art, because it's kind of like you're doing the show with the music, the material you've already made with the timing. But then when you
Mm-hmm.
do the battle rapping, it's just improv on the spot. But with that said, like aside from the scene and bringing it back to you, I know 15 years of grinding comes with, some burnout, maybe some sacrifices, maybe some
Yeah,
self-doubt, some challenges. When you get to those roadblocks, those obstacles, how do you face them?
I wish I had a good answer for it. I don't know. The truth is, like, I I don't know that I would want to be doing anything else regardless. Like, I love creating so much that no matter where I would be or where I could be in life, I would still find ways to be expressing myself. Um, and I guess part of it is when I start feeling like that, I lean into it even more. I make material like this album that I just released is maybe the third or fourth draft of a project that I was getting ready to release. But like the whole first original version of it was very not fun songs to listen to in a sense that it was more of a therapy session. I was talking a lot about feeling doubt and feeling down on myself and where I was mentally with everything, and it felt good to be able to create it and to just get it out. But it didn't feel like something that was designed for everybody to listen to. It felt like it was something that even if I wasn't trying to show people, um, that I would had to have make. And that goes back to even the earliest things that I did, even way before I started doing music, way before I started doing battling. I would write poetry, like from a very young age, like fourth grade to up until middle school and stuff, maybe even younger than that. But it wasn't designed for anybody. I would write poems or draw a picture right before I'd go to bed or whatever, and then I'd crumple the paper up and throw it in the trash. Like I'd get rid of it. And I wouldn't like it wasn't a thought of me to keep any of this stuff. What I didn't know is that my mom, who would wake up like in the middle of the night, just being a mom, she'd go into the kitchen or whatever and see the trash can is full of all these papers and pull them out, and it's my poems and my drawings and stuff. And she had started collecting them, and I didn't know that for a few years. And then when I finally got to a point where I was like, hey, I want to actually try to show people some of this stuff. I remember there was a day where I expressed her. I was like, man, I wish I hadn't thrown away all the other stuff that I did so I could see if I have ideas there that I like. And she was like, well, actually, I've kind of been waiting for this. And then she, brings out this folder that has hundreds of things that I had done. And and I think that that kind of ties into it. Like creativity for me was always as a means of expression, regardless if anybody saw it. So the doubt that I feel from art isn't like from art itself. I guess the doubt that I feel when I feel any kind of negativity about creating, it comes from seeing people who are disingenuous or who are overtly gimmicky for the sake of generating profit, absorbing so much attention that it makes it difficult for people who genuinely love or have a passion for it to get exposure. I by no means do I expect or even want a million fans. Like that'd be cool, I guess, but that seems like more exposure than what I want because I do value my personal life. I do value the ability to be able to just go to a grocery store. And even at the level I'm at, my family's been with me and I get recognized for performing or for people like my music or for my battles and stuff. I have enough exposure that I do get, recognized in public, but it's not an everyday occurrence and it's not in every single time I step out. It's more of like if I go to specific places, like if I show up to a hip hop show, everybody's gonna know me there. If I show up to certain, parts of town, people know me. If I show up to certain art galleries or what have you, like I'm recognized for the work that I've done there, but I can just go to Circle K and it's not a big deal. But like, it would be cool to have 1,000 people that every time I dropped an album, they were buying it, or if every time I dropped a shirt, they bought it. Like a core group of individuals that I could be able to comfortably make a maintainable lifestyle with, without having to sell out. Like this is a problem that I have a lot on social media is I grew up not using social media. Like, oh geez, like nobody took pictures. You don't take pictures of what you do. You don't document where you go. Like, and now that's kind of the game. It's that or content creation. And I don't know, dude. It's not for me. Like, I recently was going to do like this video series where because I used to get told I looked like George Lopez a lot when I was in middle school. And now especially that his hair is all fucking wild and crazy when I don't have my hair pulled back, it kind of looks like it a little bit more. So I was gonna do this video where it was like, uh one of those bait and switch titles where it was like, does George Lopez rap or does George Lopez's son really think he can rap? And like I went to film it and I sat down and I was just like, nah, dude, I don't like that's I've never been like that. I've always thought that if my talent wasn't enough to get me in the door, then so be it. But I like I'm not gonna I don't know. I have a morality line, I guess, that I'm not willing to sell myself out.
Yeah, and every artist is different, and I appreciate that you're honest about it and you express yourself the way you do. And as far as self doubt, and challenges, I mean, everyone goes through it, so it's good to see that you're human too. They see Eastside Benny on the stage performing, they think it's the glamorous life, but you're human too. And another thing is shout out to mom for keeping all those paperwork. That's amazing. Like now, with that all said, let's get into now that we have the backstory of like the genesis of you and how you got to this point. Let's talk about your current project. Good for you, your latest project.
Yeah.
What is the start of it, the genesis of it?
So when I started battling, I took a hiatus from making music on purpose, kind of. I was like, I want to take 5 years to focus on battling, see what I can do with it. So it was a while since I had released any music. The last project that I released was eponymous called Eastside Benny. Um, when I approach making projects, well, when I approach making music, I always go from it from the perspective of making projects. I know that that wasn't really the game for a long time. Most artists kind of focused on singles and just mass producing singles. I always enjoyed making projects, a body of work that tells some kind of narrative, whatever the narrative be, right? Even if it's about a spaghetti monster, if the album's supposed to be about a spaghetti monster, then make the whole thing, cohesive. So with this one, about 2 years ago, I sat down and started recording what I mentioned earlier was kind of just like the therapy for me. At the time, I was actually talking with a therapist, and a lot of this stuff that would get brought up, I would, finish the session and then immediately write something and record it kind of on the spot, and it was very organic. Um, it helped me process a lot of the things I was thinking through. And then about a year ago, I was approached by Barrio, who runs Arrogant Marketing, and he was like, we already work together in the battle rap stuff. Well, I know that you're consistent. Would you like to get a distribution deal through the company and then work on a new project or whatever? If you just want to release singles, and I thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. I've been working on stuff. Um, Sat down with the material that I had, and the original plan was I was going to submit the material that I already had, and then work on brand new stuff for the project for the label. But when I listened to it, I was just like, after 5 years, this being a return, I just don't see this being like the best way that I can encapsulate all of this time period that I've been gone. So I need something that's a little bit more encapsulating, maybe a little bit more thematic, and not so one tracked, because all of those songs were very much kind of like, I'm struggling mentally about this, and then the next song is I'm struggling mentally about this. It's like there's ways for me to write that, and then there's other ways to express all of the other emotions that I have going on in my life. Because there's a lot of good things happening too at the same time. The things that I was dealing with personally and the things that I was dealing with professionally didn't always line up. So when I started working specifically on this project, I took an approach of creating a summation narrative of everything from basically when I began my independent career up to that point, what I had gone through between my life in my neighborhood, my life as a father, my life as a creative individual, all of those different aspects of it, and started working on an album that was originally titled Cicada. Cicada was about, oh, dude, I don't even know, man. I started by pulling something like 200 different loops or samples that I started with. That got trimmed down to about 60 songs. Then that got trimmed down even further. When I got to the very end in a cohesive narrative, I ended up with Good For You, which was the title that I settled on. And it was representative of like, if there was a common theme along people seeing me along my way, it was always this idea that because I wasn't on a major label or because I wasn't a mainstream artist, that it held less quality or standard for some reason. So people would hear my songs and they would tell me, oh yeah, this is good. I mean, it's good for you. Or, oh yeah, this is cool. I mean, it's cool that you did it. And it's like, okay, so if this was not somebody else, if this was, your favorite artist that did it, would it still just be good for them, or would it just be good? And so I started taking it, and then it developed more meanings along the way, because then like I flipped it on itself. It's like, you know what, it is good for me because I made this. I'm proud of what I did, so I'm happy with this. So it is good for me. So it has like multiple reflected meanings on it, but essentially it's like this idea of perception that other people have and the perception that you have for yourself can both be true at the same time.
That does make sense. Very, very true. And you hit a lot of talking points there, like challenges you face. I'm pretty sure that people making music, and how does this differentiate from your past works? And what do you want people to what do you expect people to what can people expect from this new body of work you have now?
Consistency has always been one of the things that I pride myself on. I think that this ability that I have to track out albums and create narrative pieces is my strong point. This album feels like the most cohesive narrative that I've ever put together. I deliberately broke it when I put it on to the tracking. So like the order that it plays in is not the order that the story plays out in. One of my best marketing ways that I've been able to tell people is if you imagine, Quentin Tarantino making a rap album in the late 90s, or like being an executive producer on it, this would be what he made. I intentionally went back. I had a cleaner version of it, and I guess that would be the other thing too. Is ironically, I figured out or learned how to get the cleanest possible mix that I could out of the equipment. I've been using my same equipment basically my whole last 10 years. Same exact program, same exact microphone, audio box. The only things I've recently swapped out was my speakers. They finally died on me. But like I just rock with the same stuff, not because of any kind of, oh, I just don't want to have to buy new shit. It's I felt like I never fully mastered the equipment that I had. And so it was like I want to master the tools that I have, and then I can move on to something else or learn the next tool or whatever. And I barely feel like I got to that point where it's like, yes, this is, radio quality standard. This is as clean as I could possibly get it. Other people, are paying exorbitant amounts for this level of quality. And once I did that, I decided, I want to go and make it muddy again, though. And I went back and added a bunch of grind back into the beats and a bunch of textures and re-recorded vocals in a much more gruff mannerism. And like I intentionally muddied it up because the presentation that I wanted for it didn't benefit as much from it having almost an over polished sound to it. So even like the production quality that I have on it now is 100% intentional. And I think that that's the main difference. Is before I would make things to the best of my ability, but kind of still learning along the way. So when I would EQ something or when I'd add an effect to something, I was playing with it a lot. I was kind of like sitting there and be like, does this sound better than this? And swapping back and forth. Now I'm with intention creating sounds and emotions and themes because I understand my equipment fully.
Now, with the expectations set and all the narratives that you connected together, uh, what 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 can people expect? Things to come with it as well. For example, like music videos, stream on our platforms, performances. Are you doing tours? What can the people expect?
So
What's
I'm
like?
doing something a little bit different with this one. Previous projects I made sure to put on all DSPs, but my experience with distribution platforms was having issues with them having some kind of backdoor copywriting to my material, right? So like before we would use DistroKid, I would put my project out on DistroKid, but then if I wanted to make my own music video or if I wanted to release my own songs on my own YouTube channel, it would flag it. YouTube would have an automatic copyright in there that says this is owned by Benny. And it's like, okay, but I am him. But it's like, because it's aggregating through there, my own channel isn't associated. So at some point, I ended up deleting everything from all distribution platforms. So I'm no longer on Spotify. I'm no longer on Apple Music, like none of those platforms. I recently just uploaded my entire catalog back onto Bandcamp. This was the project that I did as a 100% indie project. So this is not going on any platforms like that. Right now, the only place the project is available on in full is on Bandcamp for direct purchase, where you can support me directly. I do have the singles out on SoundCloud and on YouTube for free. You can stream the album completely for free on Bandcamp too before you buy it. I set it so it has unlimited streams on there. Um, as an independent third-party aggregator, we have generated just over 1,000 streams on the album itself just on Bandcamp. So that's people taking the time to go to that website, find my album, and specifically stream off of a streaming platform. So thank you for that. We just crossed over 50,000 views marketing wise on TikTok for the lead single and for the album. So thank you guys for that. If you guys aren't following me on there, everything is the same. Eastside Benny 29. Marketing plan for this is incredibly guerrilla. We want to do physical copies. Working on that soon. The first 10 physical copies all have their own unique artwork. Every single artwork is hand drawn by me and designed by myself. They are going to sit as one of one collector items for people that like music, for people that support art out here in Tucson. They won't be reduplicated. There is a deluxe version of the album coming that has remixes done by other local producers. I sent out my acapellas to a bunch of the homies, a bunch of other producers that I met up with, let them reimagine the track as if they were making it. So I basically have like this reimagined version of the album too. We are going to be doing a album release show June 6th. Dates or details to come. I will have a flyer. I can make sure I send that to you too, so you can post it in this. Um, we got a lot down the pipeline. I'm also planning a small indie pop-up tour. So the plan is we're going to be contacting smoke shops, record stores, small bookshops, and doing pop-up shows all throughout Arizona, New Mexico, maybe expanding into Cali. Fingers crossed, we're going to try to hit Mexico. It's a lot. It's just, trying to really do it independently and in a time where the indie artists get so easily overlooked by the majors, and you don't get the opportunity to send a demo anymore. I can't send this to Def Jam and tell them, it's done. All you got to do is take a chance on me. They don't want that. They want to see, 5 million subs on my channel before that happens. But there are, there's some indies out there that are still really for the artists, but that's what I'm trying to accomplish. If I can get 1,000 copies sold of my album, I will consider that the biggest win. So we're getting there. We're slowly stacking up day by day. Currently, we were sitting at the number one album on Bandcamp for Tucson rap. We're sitting at number two for all genres in Tucson, and that's out of several hundreds of thousands of releases. In Arizona, we were sitting at number 9 was our highest for rap, and then number 25 all genres. So I mean, it's not the Billboard chart, but it's a chart, and we're number one.
I mean, that's motion right there. That's definitely momentum, and that's amazing. It's like
Yeah.
you're gonna have a busy year, and that's gonna be crazy. So, I mean, I wish you best of luck and overall good health for all. We're about to tackle pretty soon. But before I ask my last question, is there anything we didn't touch on Good For You or any of the background stuff that you want to bring to the forefront so people can understand the project better or you as an artist better?
Maybe not so much background information. Obviously, we touched on it a little bit. Everything's done in house. I did this all completely myself, from the artwork to the sound engineering, recording, mixing, writing. The features on the project are important to me. I mentioned my cousin Anais. After about 13 years of not having any work with him or any material with him, he's heavily featured on this project. I went out of my way to make sure I got a hold of him and was telling him like, yo, I have a chance to do something one more time. I want you involved. You were there at the very beginning. If this is the last full length solo project I do, I really want you to be there again. I got the little homie who also has been my most frequent collaborator, Doe. He's on the project. My brother and my best friend, Drop TGB, is on the project. The homie Elquan, an incredibly talented artist out here, is on the project. So there's not a lot of features on it. I think that I don't like putting too much into people's ears before they listen to it, in the sense of this is what you should be listening for. But if I could give people anything going into it, it would be to consume it more as a front to back production instead of a track by track album, if that makes sense. I made it on purpose to play in this order with a disrupted narrative, and I purposely used elements that are supposed to be like the markers for where the chapters in the story begin and end. I even have oh, I guess this was too. I even have a short film that I'm working on for it that'll play in chronological order. But the album is designed to play out of order, and where these people are playing roles just as much as they're showing off their talent. So they represent different aspects, where Dodo, my little homie, represents a younger mentality version of myself being more involved in street politics or more involved in negative behaviors. And my cousin represents an older, since he is, almost a decade older than me, a more matured, looking back on life perspective, where I'm sitting in the middle, kind of at the cusp of it. I can see everything that I've done. I recognize where I need to go, and it's like the moment where I could choose to fall off or not.
To choose how things play out. Like you said, you do narratives, kind of like projects. So it's a story. You just got to follow along and experience it
Yeah.
through the music, and that's amazing. But with that said, I mean, it kind of you kind of answered this, but we can just basically just recap on everything. Let's say in a year out from now, you've done all the pop-up shows, you did the music videos, you did all that, and you're feeling achieved, you feel successful with this project. What would that look like?
Ah, I'm glad this is the last question. Not in a negative way, but this feels like a really cool question to wrap everything up with. Because at the very beginning of our conversation, I mentioned that I had to at some point reassess what success meant for me, and this is literally what you're asking me right now. Like, so what is success? Um, I'm already done. I already did it technically. Like, if I want to be super real about it, I know that we're talking a year down, and that I have other goals for a year down. My year, like a year from now, I would love to have 1,000 copies of this album sold. I would love to have done a small state tour, have this short film out. I don't really care about any other numbers besides the 1,000 copies sold, and even that's like a very, if I get there, cool. And if I don't, I'm not really worried about it, in the sense that it's not gonna like break my spirit. Feel me? What that 1,000 represents for me is 1,000 people that saw the vision enough that they were willing to help invest in me creating further. And that kind of goes to like what I was talking about earlier. If I could have that 1,000 core base of people that every time I do something, then I can create a completely sustainable ecosystem of financial freedom to be able to just continue being creative. But I mean, success for me is, and my 6 month old was, dancing to my song the other day. And my 11-year old listens to my album, and he'll tell me things like, man, dad, where put that snare and it hits with the word that you said there. And it just like, the passion that he has developed by watching me, almost to a fault, relentlessly chase my dream, is kind of the payoff for me. Like, getting to see him get excited about the things that he wants to create and not be deterred. um I tell him all the time that if there's one thing that I'm really good at, it's failing. I have failed more times in life than I've ever truly succeeded, and it has never stopped me. So I hope that it'd be nice to influence a lot of people, or at least, you know, inspire people is the better word that I would choose instead of influence. But the fact that my son can tell me that he comfortably wants to be like a creator too, it, like I already did what I wanted to do.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's a great way to wrap it up. I'm going to end it with this. This is Rick here with the Talk to Me Whatever podcast. This is the Behind the Bar segment here with Eastside Benny. Please
Thank
wrap it up, Benny, with saying all the details of the Good For You project, when it's coming out, all those details you want to share. Go ahead.
Good for you. It is out on Bandcamp now. Go buy that. Please go buy that. You can stream it there as well. Duck Sauce is the single that is out on YouTube and SoundCloud. You can find me on all platforms, pretty much Eastside Benny 29, all written together as one word. TikTok is where we're doing the best right now. I don't really know why, but it just so happens that that's where we're getting the most engagement. Um, Good for You album release party June 6th here in Tucson. Follow my pages so you guys can see information on that. Thank you for having me, my man. Y'all go tap in with the podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe, like everything that he's doing over there. Thank you for providing a platform for local talent to be able to speak on this. And last shout outs, I just want to, shout out my kids and my lady. Love you.